Slipping away without a backward glance, she made her way to the next room. In the lemon-coloured light, two women knelt in the middle of a small circle of masked male figures. The girl watched for a while, then moved on. Another room was completely dark. A notice by the door invited those who entered to take off their clothes and use their sense of touch. Almost regretfully, she turned away. In a small bar, she stopped to look at a long-legged blonde who was lying on her back across a low table, a man at either end. Several couples stood around, drinks in hand, watching. "Hey, beautiful." A man with a thick bodybuilder's torso, improbably tanned for the time of year, spoke to her in guttural English. "My wife thinks you're hot." Shaking her head with a quick, regretful smile, she headed back to the dance floor. There was a platform at one end where two professional dancers, one male and one female, performed non-stop, their bodies gleaming with oil and sweat. The male dancer's chest was thin as a rock star's, but rippled with muscle. She watched him for a while, copying his movements, abandoning herself to the pulsing beat. "Hiya!" A masked girl a few years older than her smiled a greeting over the music. "Having a good time?" "The best!" The girl leaned in closer. "You need anything sorted? Pills, coke, cheap cigarettes?" Maybe some cigarettes." "Talk to him." The girl pointed to where a young man with striking blonde dreadlocks and a trifaccia mask stood slightly apart. "Whatever you need, he's cool." Nodding her thanks, the girl in the feathered colombina made her way over to the young man. "Hey," she said casually. Looking round quickly, he pushed open a fire door and motioned for her to step outside. She did so, shivering as the cold, foggy air hit her. "I hear," she began, but the words were hardly out of her mouth before she felt strong arms pinning her from behind. The Carnevale mask was plucked from her face, and some kind of bag made of heavy cloth dropped over her head in its place. More hands fastened round her calves, the two-man team lifting her as effortlessly as if she were a shop mannequin being moved to a different window. She felt herself propelled forwards, then lowered onto a hard surface that gave beneath her assailant's weight as they clambered in after her, rapidly securing her legs and arms with what felt like plastic strips. "I'm in a van," she thought. "They've put me in a van. It must be the police." Then moments later came the realization that the Italian police would never hood her like this. "Dad?" she said hesitantly just before a thick strip of tape was wound round her mouth, hood and all, muffling even the scream that belatedly escaped her. Terror and panic flooded her limbs, but though she bucked and jerked frantically like a landed fish, she was too tightly secured to free herself. She heard doors slam, felt the van move off. The whole thing had taken less than 30 seconds. A hand held her down and a male voice spoke close to her ear, crooning some words in Italian, before switching to heavily accented English. "Stay still, Mia. Stay still, and I promise you'll be all right." "He knows my name," she thought, and the realization was even more terrifying than anything else that had happened so far. She felt her bowels clench and unclench, and struggled without success to keep control of her bladder. Then a sweet-smelling liquid soaked the hood around her nose, and the darkness came racing towards her. Day 1, Chapter 1. Colonel Aldo Piola of the Venice Carabinieri woke with a start, unable at first to remember where he was. Nearby in the darkness a white screen flashed, and a tinny speaker played a pop song. He recognized the tune as one his 9-year-old son had been listening to recently, by the American singer Pink, and felt a twinge of annoyance. Claudio must have changed his ringtone as a joke, or, more likely, he thought, his irritation replaced by a sudden surge of tenderness and guilt, in the hope of getting his father's attention at work. There was no light by the sofa, so he answered by feel. "Pronto?" "Colonel, it's Saito. Apologies for waking you at this unfortunate hour." Piola had no idea what the hour was, but if something was serious enough to require a call from his generale di brigata, the time was hardly relevant. So he said only, "No problem."